Good morning, everyone. How are you all? Hello from the other side of the world. So, today I want to apologize for my absences in our entire summer class and as well as my presentation today. Please bear with me. I don't have the facility to show my face, but just gonna be a recording. So, anyway, I hope you understand. So, I'll be presenting to you today one of my favorite topics in linguistics, which is the speech act theory by John Langsha Austin. So here we go. So our learning outcomes for today, simple lang, pero rock. So we're going to describe speech act theory. We're going to distinguish the category elocutionary act or force. We're going to describe conversational maxim, differentiate the different conversational maxims, and describe implicatures. So, before anything else, let us meet the man behind speech act theory. So, he existed between 1911 to 1960. He's a British philosopher and an influential British philosopher of his time. So his major contributions are linguistic phenomenology, and speech act theory, of course. So here's the presentation outline. So first, we're gonna discuss speech act theory, the cooperative principle, and the conversational implicature. So, speech acts. These are the speaker's utterances which convey meaning and make listeners do specific things. That's according to Austin in 1962. So, when saying a performative utterance, a speaker is simultaneously doing something. So, this term does not refer simply to the act of speaking, but to the whole communicative situation, including the context of the utterance and paralinguistic features which may contribute to the meaning of the interaction. So, Leach in 1983 and Yule in 1996 commented about speech act that this is not so much whether or not an utterance is grammatically correct, but whether or not the speaker achieves her communicative purpose. So speech acts are merely for achievement of what you wanna intend to say to people. So bahalag magka because ang grammar at least nasabtan sa other party ang imong gusto ipasabot. So, speech acts is to say something, is to do something. Is an utterance that has performative function in language, in communication. Okay, for example, I would say, I am hungry. Gigutom ko. So, there could be two meanings of this statement. It could be I'm just expressing my current situation that I am hungry, or it could be that I request for something to eat. Could be I wanna go somewhere else. I wanna go to McDonald's or Jollibee. Ay, kasocial ba? But I'm hungry, so that's it. So there are three categories of speech act, in which I'm gonna discuss first the locutionary act. This is the act of saying something. It has a meaning and it creates an understandable utterly to convey or express. This act happens when the utterance of a sound or word or even a phrase as a natural unit of speech. The utterance should have the same meaning to both the speaker and the listener to be a locutionary act. So, the apple is red. What? The apple is red. We know that the apple is red. Kung hinog siya, it's red. Not green, but we all know that apple is red. Then number 2, elocutionary act. It is performed as an act of saying something or as an act of opposed to saying something. The elocutionary utterance has a certain force of it. It is well versed with certain tones, attitudes, feelings, or emotions. For example, if I say, do your homework, okay, it's an order. There's a certain tone of it. Pag mag-command ka, especially if a parent, labi gahion ang anak, di ba? So, medyo naitono ang pagsugo. And here's the response, I'll do my homework later. So, it's a promise. Number 3 is the prelocutionary act. It normally creates a sense of consequential effects on the audiences. The effects may be the form of thoughts, imagination, feelings, or emotions. The effect upon the addressee is the main characteristic of prelocutionary utterances. The effect may not be necessarily be physical or verbal and elicited by inspiring, insulting, persuading, deterring, or scaring, etc. So example, I was born a Filipino, I will live a Filipino, and I will die a Filipino. So it's inspiring. But here's example of deterring one. Texting while driving kills you, your loved ones, or other people. It's some kind of a warning to people who are texting while driving. So, in summary, please, here in the Locutionary Act, the production of a well-formed utterance in whatever language one is speaking. For example, you say, please open the window. So in elocutionary act, the meaning one wishes to communicate. The elocutionary force we attach to a locutionary act is the meaning we intend to convey. So it's the intention. The prelocutionary act is the effect of words. So there must be an intended effect of it. So what happens when you hear the question, would you close the door? So the intention is, the locution or the intention is the door is open, and the elocution meaning someone should close the door, and the prelocution or the effect on the hearer, it could be too noisy, therefore I have to close the door. So there are 5 types of elocutionary acts by John Searle. So first is representative speech acts. These are the statements and descriptions. The speaker offers her view of the world as she understands it. So if we say the earth is round, and or I think he's saying the truth. So these are statements may be judged true or false because they aim to describe a state of affairs in the world. In representative, you may affirm, believe, conclude, deny, report, state, etc. So those that reveal the speaker's attitudes, such as congratulating, condoling, or expressive pleasure, they have a strongly interpersonal function. These are expressive speech acts. So if you say, I am sorry for being late, so These are statements that expresses the sincerity condition of the speech act. So in expressive as well, you thank, you congratulate, you apologize, you praise. So this comes with sincerity. So but somehow there are people who are faking this. Yeah, just for the sake of being polite, you know. So there next would be directives. So these are essentially commands. These are more likely to be found within character to character discourse, or in a text or in a novel addressed to the reader, occur rarely in the narrator's voice, for the obvious reason that readers exist outside the communicative framework of the fiction. So, for example, he say, "Give me your pen. Leave the town immediately." So these are statements attempt to make the other person's actions fit the propositional content. So in directive, you ask, you order, you command, you request, you beg, you plead, pray, entreat, you invite, you permit, you advise, you demand, etc. Next would be commissives. These acts which commit the speaker to some future course of action. They include promises and their converse, threats. The difference depends on how the hearer will be affected by the proposed act. So, for example, we say, "I will repay the money. I swear to tell the truth." So, these are statements which commit the speaker to a course of action, as described by the propositional content. So, here you guarantee, you promise, you swear, you refuse, you threaten, you intend, etc. Next would be declarations. It is a unique form of speech act in that their successful performance depends upon the status of the speaker and the precise circumstances surrounding the event. So, for example, who would say, "Class dismiss"? Right? It's a teacher. Later, Sir Bench or Doc Bench will dismiss the class. And you are fired. Who would say this? This is not a statement of an ordinary employee, but must be someone higher to that employee. Could be a boss, could be the president or the owner of the company. So, and this one, we find the defendant guilty. So, not everyone could say this, but it must be a judge. So, a declaration, statements that attempt to change the world by representing it as having been changed, like blessing, baptizing, bidding, passing sentences, or excommunicating, etc. So, let's proceed to the cooperative principle by Grice, 1967 and 1987. This, it says, "Make your conversational contribution such as is required at the stage at which it occurs by the accepted purpose or direction of the talk exchange in which you are engaged." So we will be talking for maxims, and we will be in this column, left column, we will be discussing the maxim, and we'll be showing to you an example how we are flouting or how we are violating this maxim. Okay, let's start with maxim of quantity. Number one, it says that in maxim of quantity, we should make our contribution as informative as is required for the current purposes of the exchange. Do not make your contribution more informative than is required. So, for example, here in A, what can you tell me about Catherine's ability to concentrate on a task? So, and B answer, Catherine is a butterfly, flitting from flower to flower. It invites a metaphorical interpretation. So it doesn't direct it doesn't answer the question directly, right? So if you answer this way, you are violating the maxim of quantity. Next, the maxim of quality. Try to make your contribution one that is true or avoid falsehoods. Do not say what you believe to be false. Do not say that for which you lack adequate evidence. So, example A, Tehran's in Turkey, isn't it? And Boston's in Armenia. Diba? Para siyang sarcastic. Why not say yes or no? Diba? So, you should say what is a fact. So we should not say false statement. Okay, maxim of relation. It says be relevant. So what on earth has happened to the roast beef? So the answer, the dog is looking very happy. So diba, so indirect. So if I understand this, what happened to the roast beef? Gikaan sa dog. So gikaan sa dog, it means na RIP ang roast beef. So it's not relevant. You're not being relevant in answering the question. Next would be maxims of manner. It says be perspicuous, avoid obscurity of expression, you avoid ambiguity, you should be brief, avoid unnecessary publicity. It says be orderly. So, for example, the question is, what are you baking? BIRTHDAI WCIKE. So, diba? Iba na ako kasabot. Nasaan eh? So we should avoid obscurity of expression. We avoid ambiguity in answering questions. So we should be direct. So in quantity, this maxim requires that we offer the appropriate amount of information. On one level, it is clearly irrelevant to literary discourse since the situation, information, and so on are all fictional. The maxim of quantity may explain why a reader seeks meaning in apparently trivial or irrelevant details. And in quality, this maxim has to do with the truth or falsity of an utterance. Characters within fictions will lie or exaggerate or conceal, and as we have seen, narrators do too. In maxim of manner, this maxim refers not to what is said but to how it is expressed. It is therefore most firmly under the control of the speaker or writer. Conversational implicatures arise from a combination of language and situation. The same utterance on different occasions might not generate an implicature or might suggest a different one. They are rooted in the situation in which they occur and must be interpreted taking the context into account. If we assume that our interlocutor is obeying the cooperative principle, when one of the maxims appears not to be fulfilled, we will attempt to infer the meaning intended. So, what a speaker intends to communicate, says L.R. Horn, is characteristically far richer than what she directly expresses. Linguistic meaning radically underdetermines the message conveyed and understood. According to the Handbook of Pragmatics, 2005, in pragmatics, conversational implicature is an indirect or implicit speech act. What is meant by a speaker's utterance that is not part of what is explicitly said, also known simply as implicature. according to North Quiz in 2018. So example, are you going to wear the tie? The entailment is, I want to know whether you are going to wear that tie. Implicator, you are not really planning to wear that tie, are you? Next, would you like some coffee? It will keep me awake. The entailment is, I won't be able to sleep. Implicator, I don't want to drink coffee. So that's it. And these are my references. That's all, folks. Thank you so much. God bless everyone. Good morning.